Hello, everybody. It's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so thrilled you are here today. It's time for another Tuesday tip video, and we are going to do something a little unique with label dies. Now, obviously, we use label dies for, well, labels. Well, today we're going to step it up a notch. I'm going to teach you how to use your label dies to create a really fun flap. Are you looking for something new and unique to do with those dies? Today's video, we're going to do just that. So we're going to head over to my stamping table and let me show you the cards we're going to create today.
I think these cards are so much fun. So instead of using the Countryside Corners dies as just label dies, look what we did. We are going to create a fun flap, and it's very, very simple to do. It's a great way to just create a unique and different card, and it gives my label dies, it kind of gives me a little more bang for my buck. So I'll tell you what, friends, we're going to start with my Oh Happy Day card. Let me share with you the supplies that you need. My card base and my flap will be made out of Knight of Navy cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. And then I have another piece that is 4.25 by 5.5, and that will be used to create the flap. We're also going to be using some Designer Series paper. This is the Countryside Inn Designer Series paper. I have two pieces, 4 inches by 5.25. Speaking of two pieces, let's also bring in 2 pieces of basic white, also 4 inches by 5.25. Don't worry if you've missed any of the measurements, because I have a free download that goes along with my video today. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, because I'm ready to get to stamping. So I mentioned the Countryside Corner dies. Did you know it also has a matching stamp set? So this is going to allow us, you can see, lots of images that will go along with each of the different layers of dies. Kind of fun, right? Well, we're going to use this stamp set today. It is optional. And so even if you are not crazy about the stamp set and you love the dies, these dies alone are definitely worthwhile. But we're going to have a little fun, and I've got a couple tricks for you with the Countryside Corner stamp set. The first thing you want to know about this stamp set is it is one stamp, okay? It is one big stamp. But like I said, I have tricks for you. I'm going to set that right there on my table, and I'm going to bring in a piece of that basic white. Now, here's the thing. I only want this little stitched image, which is the second one right here. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to hit just that? Here is my trick. I have a piece of copy paper. This could also be junk mail. So it's just going to be used as a mask. So for this stamp set and for that stitched area, I need the second to the largest. See how I can see right where that's going to cut? That's what I need. Now, because of that, I don't want any ink getting right here. And so I'm going to use this as a mask when I'm ready to stamp. So watch this. So easy. I'm just going to ink this up. I am only interested in that stitched area, but you can see I got ink all over everything. No big deal. I'm going to place my little mask right there. All right, stick with me. I'm going to take my cardstock and lay it right on top. And now I'm going to take one of my large blocks, and now I'm going to give it the stamp. So I'm kind of stamping everything a little bit in reverse. But wait till you see what we get. Ta-da! We only got this area. Did we get the outside? Yep, but it's going to be cut off. I'm not worried about it. But that allowed me to not have to sit here and try to ink up just those little bits. Now this, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to keep it right here in the case with my stamp set. I can use it again and again. Now it's time to do a little die cutting. I'm going to bring in the 4.25 by 5.5. We're going to take the largest die, and we are going to die cut that from the middle of the piece of Knight of Navy. Then we're going to take the next smaller die, and now you can see we're only going to get that stitched area. I'm going to run these through my die cutting machine. And I wanted you to see, do you see how I have those dots left over? You know, I could come along and just die cut that and create a great frame. So remember, these dies and that stamp set do all work together really, really well. But you know what? I wanted just a great layering look, so we're going to go at it this way. To create our flap, we do need to do a little bit of scoring to our die cuts. I'm going to use my paper trimmer because it does have this great scoring blade in it. You're going to want to score this at 4 inches. So we're going to take this little, the end here, we're going to line that up at 4 inches. We're going to give that a score. Now let's score our stamped and white piece, and it's going to be scored at 3 3/4, so just a little bit less. That will create a really awesome flap. I want to come in with my bone folder and give both of those a good crease. And now you can see how that's just going to lay right on top. We're going to use this to adhere to the inside of our card base. But before we get too far, let's go ahead and stamp a sentiment here on my label. I thought this one needed something great big, so I thought kindest expressions, oh happy day, was just perfect. So we'll bring in that Night of Navy ink pad. We will stamp that right there on our label. Boom, that is done. You know what? Since we have our stamp pad out, I'm going to go ahead and get the last of my stamping done. So this is that final piece of the 4 by 5 1/4. And for this one, I wanted to do something on the inside. Now, I have to tell you, I love kindest expressions. I do, but Oh Happy Day didn't really go with much else in this. It's kind of meant to be its own standalone stamp. So I brought in happy labels. You guys know I don't do that very often. But the I just want to hug you was just the perfect sentiment with Oh Happy Day. And I gotta tell you, it is a happy day because my daughter just got engaged not too long ago. So we'll be planning a wedding soon. So I just want to hug you. I think this is going to be a great card, maybe to send to the future mother-in-law. All right, let's put this card together. I'm going to get a little adhesive here on my label. And then I also have some up here at the top of my Night of Navy. I'm just going to center that up, fold it over. I'm good to go. Now, to put this on our card, this is what's kind of different. We're going to adhere this right inside our card base. And now you can kind of see how that's going to come around. All right, very simple to do. So now we'll add adhesive here to that area that we scored. We'll add that right here to the inside of our card. So you can kind of see how that's going to go. Now we have to hide that, right? Well, that's where that designer series paper is going to come in handy. Let me add a piece right here because we don't want that to show. Now I will take I Just Want to Hug You for the inside of my card. We're going to put that right down here at the bottom. I'm ready to write my message on that one. And now my final piece of designer series paper, I'm going to flip this up because I want to make sure I have trees on here and I want to make sure they're going the right direction. I don't want upside down trees. All right, there's my flap. That was simple enough, right? Okay, let's put a little bit of ribbon on here. I love this Night of Navy bordered ribbon. Do you see how it has a little bit of a shine to it? I'm going to tie this here in a square knot up at the very top of my label flap. So right over left and under. I'm going to go left over right and under. My trick is to only pull what's in your left hand to get that really pretty little square knot. Once you kind of get it, you can give them both a pull. Let me trim this down for you. And just to add a little bling, how about some of those brass butterflies? I love these. They're really nice and thin, so they're really easy to mail. Simple, simple card.
Don't worry if you've missed any of the measurements for my cards today because I have a free download that's going to go along with today's video. In that download, you're going to have the measurements, a supply list, photographs of the cards that I'm creating, and a link back to this video. So if you need a little refresher on how we're creating those label card flaps, you're going to have that as well. My friends, this is absolutely free. You'll find it at simplysimplestamping.com, or you can look down in the YouTube description. I've got a direct link to the post. That's where you'll see a big blue button. Grab your free download here. I'd love for you to have that. All right, now let's go on. I'm going to share with you my second card featuring that label die technique.
All right, so for my second card, I decided to put the flap over on the right-hand side. And do you see, so much love for you. I was able to kind of put a hidden message in there. Instead of designer series paper, I kind of stamped my own. I'm going to teach you how to create this card, and it's going to go together much like our first card. Now, our card base and the piece for our flap are the same. So that was the 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25 for the card base. And then, of course, this piece here, that's what we will die cut the largest die from. Just like that. Now, this is a little bit different. So what I had you do is cut a piece of basic white that is 8 by 10.5. All right, just to make it a little bit easier on you, we're going to just kind of start with that base piece of white. Now I'm going to do one little cut. I'm going to cut it down to 5.25. All right, so I'm cutting it in half, 5.25. I'm going to set that one off to the side. That's the one I'm going to do my stamping on. With what's remaining, I'm going to cut this into two pieces that are 4 by 5.25. All right, so that's the other thing that we'll be using on our card. Now let's talk about what we're going to do with these. We're going to take one of them, and just like we did before, we're going to take the second to the largest die, and we're going to die cut from one of these pieces of white. Now you notice I'm not going to be using the countryside corners on this one. You know, this has kind of a busy pattern. I decided to leave it as is. So let me die cut this. There we go. This last one is going to be used. This is where we're going to write our message. We'll do a little stamping on it as well. All right, let's do our stamping. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and put this card together just like we did before, only with the flap on the other side. I'm going to be bringing in some grid paper because I'll be stamping off of this cardstock. I need to cover this in flowers. And my stamp set for today is the Love for You set. This one is so much love for this set. We have so much love and for you, and then we have lots of different sentiments that go along with it. But these flowers really caught my attention. So we are going to start with a Melon Mambo ink pad and the largest flower. Now I'm going to stamp off and then on my ink pad. And I'm just going to do this randomly all over my cardstock. I gotta tell you guys, I love designer series paper. I do. But you know what else I love? I love stamping and creating my own. So we will fill this with flowers. Now don't let that Melon Mambo ink pad get too far away from you because we'll be using it again. But I'm going to come in now with a Memento Black. And I like to do this step next because I can see the inside of the flower and the direction my little center needs to go. Don't worry, this flower is going to look amazing when I'm done. So let me get all this stamped for you. I'm now ready to come back in with the Melon Mambo, and this time we won't stamp off. And let me show you how this stamp works. This is gorgeous. Are you ready? We're going to stamp. Oh, talk about a pop of color. Now, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to add this to the center of all of my flowers. All right, and now some Granny Apple Green. And that little technique we did with the Melon Mambo where we started with the lighter color, we stamped off, we're going to do that again. And this is with the solid leaves. And you can see I'm just adding some nice pop of color here. This is going to let me kind of fill in a little bit. And then we're going to, as you know, we're going to go back over it with the other stamp, the nice little overlay. And that's what's going to make these leaves really just pop for us. All right, we're going to come right on top of those, and this time we will not stamp off. And you can see how it's almost making these flowers just look like I watercolored them. You gotta love those artists at Stampin' Up! Because they make me look really, really good. Now I have a little more white space than what I want. So I'm going to come back in with the Memento Black, and I love this. It just kind of looks like a great little, I don't know, just kind of a wonderful little speckle. You notice how I'm rotating my cardstock so the little dot is not always going the same direction, but it's also filling in, kind of making my homemade designer series paper just kind of have more detail. I love this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card. So this is where I'm going to write my message. And for this one, I'm going to say, nobody gets me like you. So we'll stamp that there. And we're going to add a couple more flowers. By the way, just for fun, we're going to change it up. I'm going to use the smaller flowers in this set. Just like we did before, we're stamping off melon mambo flowers there. We'll come directly over it. That same center will work for this flower. And you guessed it, we're going to add some leaves too. All right, it is time to create. I'm going to take, remember, this is how we did our scoring on our two labels. Make sure my cutting blade's out of the way. 3 3/4 on the basic white and 4 inches on the melon mambo. Crease those down with my bone folder. I'm going to ink up my So Much Love, and we'll stamp that right there on my label. And I have a little room here to add a flower, so let's go ahead. I'm going to adhere these together just like I did before. And remember, this time our label flap is going to go here on the right. Adhere your message area there on the right. Now we're going to do a quick cut to our homemade designer series paper. Quick cut, 4 inches by 5 1/4. You'll add one to the inside, the other right here to the front. And remember, we have that hidden message. All right, we're going to say, for you. I've got a really big label here, so I have plenty of room to stamp that. Okay, there we go. I just topped off my card with a piece of black and white gingham ribbon. I thought that just looked so sweet with the card. And there we go. Isn't that fun to create your own homemade designer series paper? And of course, what's not to love in using our dies to create something very different? And like I said, more bang for your buck with those label dies. Have some fun creating. These cards are going to be a hit when you mail them to your family and friends. I know it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And hey, if you did, I would love a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. If you have not subscribed, we'd love to have you be a subscriber of the channel. Just click the subscribe button there on YouTube and they'll let you know whenever I have a new one. And while you're at it, why not invite some crafty friends to come and join in the fun? I'd love to have them here on the channel. Thank you again for being here. I can't wait to stamp with you guys next time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.